Reginald Samples is a coach in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that coaches for a team that I'm sure many of you have heard of, the Duncanville Panthers. Samples grew up without a father, so his first role model wasn't until he reached elementary, which was W. Bushman Elementary, and it was a man named Robert Gills. Samples was on the track team for Gills, and one time he refused to run in the 100-meter relay, and Gills called his mother, which resulted in a lengthy conversation, as well as a lengthy timeout in the gym bathroom. He said it was an experience that stuck with him for a long time. It was profound. It made me figure things out. Like, who am I to say no to this guy who has done everything for me? He just let me know that as talented as you are, you can be insignificant. There are some guys that still remind me of being locked in the bathroom today. Samples attended South Oak Cliffs for high school, where he was coached under Norman Jett, who coached for 13 years and has a combined record of 103, 31, 5.
I grew up in Dallas. I am a DISD kid. I went to elementary, W. Bushman, Elijah M. Peace, Sarah Zumwalt, South Oak Cliffs. I mean, I am a DISD product, and I'm proud of it.
200 of his players received college scholarships, and 18 went pro. Norman Jett died in 2003, with his last season with South Oak Cliff being 10-2. The school did not win 10 games for 15 years afterwards.
I graduated from college. Coach Jett offered me a coordinator's position on the freshman team, and Coach Malone offered me the head coaching position on the freshman team. And of course, you know, everybody wants to be the boss. So I took the head coaching job at Madison instead of position coach at South Oak Cliff. One of the things that I did at Madison is I tried to take on every role that I could do. I think I was the equipment manager, the insurance guy. I did every role that I could.
Samples once coached a freshman basketball team at Madison High School in January of 1989. He was going against Lincoln for the district championship, and by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, he only had 3 players due to fouls. But Samples managed to pull off the upset with just those 3 players. After his display of what the Lincoln principal described as spirit and enthusiasm that was memorable for him, he was soon offered a head coaching job for the football team. His first year he went 4-6, but his second year was better. He went 6-4. However, later on in 1995, he led the team to a playoff berth, the program's first in almost a decade. In 1996, he had the best season with a 12-1 record and made it to the regional finals. After the year 2000, Samples never had a season below 10 wins and a 4A state championship in 2004. In overtime at Baylor's KC Stadium, he played Kilgore.
No record. 16-0 would be a state championship. Threatened late in overtime. Lincoln attempted a field goal, but from off the left side came Nick Sanders to block the kick, sweep the ball up in his arms, and go running for a state championship. A run for a touchdown that would bring Kilgore one of its greatest moments in sport. Nick Sanders and the Kilgore Bulldogs had won the state title. Mike Valerie had led the team well.
His Lincoln team lined up for a field goal in overtime, only for the Bulldogs to block it, and Nick Sanders returned it 68 yards for the win. An event Samples still sighs at and stated, "Honestly, I feel like I got what I deserved. I feel like it was not my time to win the game. I feel like I did everything I could do. I was proud of what the work we had done." But he says his one regret, he says, was playing it safe, kicking the field goal instead of going for it on fourth down, as recommended by his assistant Jason Todd. But he knows there's not a right answer and that revisiting history serves nobody. A year later, he left the Dallas Skyline and had a record of 110-22, reaching the regional finals 4 times and the semifinals once in 2014.
I enjoyed Skyline. We did some great things at Skyline. Very hard to leave Skyline. I wanted a level playing field, and that made all the difference in the world when it came down to making the decision. I was really hard because the year I left Skyline, probably I left the best team I ever had at Skyline.
Then he came to Duncanville in 2015, the following year. His first year was rough with a 2-8 record. The next year, in 2016, his record was 11-3, reaching the quarterfinals. The year after, 11-1, falling short in the area round. Then in 2018, he reached the state title, And this is where the game that would earn the title, greatest end to a high school football game, happened.
Final play of the game. Davis to step up in the pocket, gonna heave it for the end zone, and it is caught! It's caught! It's a touchdown! Pandemonium breaks free. Clearly, this play will be reviewed to see if A.J. Carter brought it down for a state championship winning touchdown.
Greg, when this ball came out of Demetrius Davis' hand, I said, hey, this is thrown out of the end zone. No, it was thrown to the back of the end zone. And then the North Shore team just decided, hey, we're going to go up and make a play on this football. And by golly, one of them comes down with it.
I think he got it. I think Carter got it.
Even though they failed at the title, Duncanville hadn't been to the championship since 1998, and they hadn't had a winning season since 2011. Samples said to the press, "I look at it like I did in 2004, that there's a God and things happen for a reason. I wish I could figure out how it would have been if it didn't happen. You've got to live with it." Their season ended 14-1. In 2019, Duncanville looked like they'd easily make it back to the state championship. And they did. They beat Rockwall in the semifinals, but their starting QB, Jaquin Jackson, had a season-ending knee injury at the halftime. The Panthers were already up 35-0, but Samples was forced to play as freshman quarterback Chris Parson. To quote Samples directly, "That was the hardest one for me. I kept questioning myself because I was trying to find something that I did wrong. Should we have taken Jackson out? It really makes you try to figure out why, you know what's the plan?" 2 years later, it was Duncanville versus North Shore, Volume 3, and for the first time, Samples' Panthers were widely thought of heavyweight favorites, taking on a wounded North Shore team with its own freshman quarterback. That's what made the Panthers' 17-10 loss their third at the hands of the Mustangs in the span of 4 years. All the more shocking. To quote his wife of 39 years, "They were very difficult. I guess you saw the picture where he was confronting their son, Rashad, in 2018 after the Hail Mary. He also comforted me because I was equally upset about it. It's hard watching him lose games like that." He stated it really didn't hit him until he walked past the trophy case and noticed 3 runner-up trophies, one next to the other. He stated it drove him crazy as the last title loss, his assistant coach Jason Todd led South Oak Cliffs to a state title and played hours before Duncanville and North Shore played. Samples stated if you knew Jason Todd like he did, you'd understand that he deserved it. In 2020, he'd play South Lake Carroll in the semifinals, ending in a loss and a win for Austin Westlake in the state title. In 2021, he'd lose once again to North Shore. Finally, in 2022, Duncanville made their way back to the state title and will play North Shore again.
Yeah, but fret not, we got highlights, and again, this was Act 4 theater at its finest. It was a battle of unbeatens, DFW versus Houston. Reg chasing his first. Let the quadrilogy commence. It was Duncanville ball. Keelan Russell airing it out. DeCorian Moore making the catch. 43 yards on the play, so later in the drive, Caden Durham would put him on the board first, Craig.
Yeah, his first touchdown, and a little shush to the crowd saying, look, we've come, we're ready.
Second quarter, could they add to it? Russell making a man miss. The sophomore had wheels.
Man, that was explosive. They needed that. That was a momentum shift that you could feel in the building.
Now, listen.
They're up 14-0. Yeah, what could go wrong?
Oh, they're facing John Kay? We'll watch. Ensuing Mustangs possession. David Amador to a wide-open Cameron Smith there. North Shore cutting the deficit.
Who says that David Amador is a converted wide receiver? That was a dime. Busted coverage on the back end for Duncanville, but North Shore made them pay.
But here's the thing. Amador's like, okay, I can throw it, but I can also do this.
Here's what he's done so well down the stretch of the regular season throughout the playoffs, taking what looked to be either a sack, a lost yardage play, and turning it into a big gain, or in this case, a touchdown.
Well, Duncanville was like, all right, we're in a chess match. Here's our next move. Davion blew it. 31 yards before he's finally brought down at the 10. Durham, yet again, your offensive MVP, powering it in, Pickle.
Man, I'll tell you what, there was that first run that I'm going, man, the cuts that these guys are making on their route running is exceptional right now.
30 seconds to go. Amador cutting through the D. 20 carries for 87 yards and a pair of scores. We headed into the second half, all knotted up. And you wondered what would happen coming out of the second half, out of that locker room, Greg Tepper.
They go for it on 4th and 1 and come up aces with Caden Durham. Another touchdown run gives them the lead.
And we continued here. Now, listen, we talk offensive game selling tickets, Craig. Defense wins championships.
And Colin Simmons is a big part of why a defense can win championships. He was spending a lot of time in the backfield and stripping the ball and all around the play tonight.
And again, that's what we celebrated, Pickle, was the fact that defense seemed to have made mistakes in years past against North Shore. Ooh, this is kind of, okay, I'll admit, that was a tough one to watch. Nonetheless, they came up nails when needed to.
Yeah, that was a tough penalty there on Colin Simmons, but this was the critical play. 4th and 4, David Amador up the middle. Just short. They would come in and measure it and short by just that much. That's how much it took to bring Reginald Samples a state championship.
Are you saying Act 4 came down to 4 inches?
About 4 inches, and you knew they were going to review it. They had to review it, and it confirmed it. And it confirmed that Reginald Samples is capable of coaching a state championship team.
And, Craig, listen, I call it the high school football national championship for a reason. This field was littered with Division I talent, and you see the numbers that they're capable of putting up at this level.
Well, Coach, 32 years as a head coach, 323 wins, and you finally get a state championship. How does the dream compare to the reality?
It's about time. It's about time. Worked a long time for it. About time.
You always make it about your players and your coaches. For all the guys who ever played for you and coached for you, what is your message to them right now?
Just keep working, and it'll come. Work hard and believe in your kids and your coaches.
Your defense pitched the shutout in the second half. You knew it would come down to them. How did they lead you all season long?
We just said keep our composure. You know, so we're going to have bad games, but we kept our composure.
Hey, I'm a coach's kid. I know how much this means to everybody involved. How much behind the scenes have they played a role to help you get here today?
You know what? It's unbelievable. Guys like you and everybody that called and wished me well, I can't say enough.
Coach, congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
Craig?
I think you put it best, CT. You just said you just keep working at it. They just didn't give up. Kept going. I mean, how many times can you get knocked down by the same guy, the same bully, so to speak, and get up and keep fighting? And they did. And it took all of that fight tonight and getting the stop at the end to be able to hold off North Shore to win the school's second overall state championship and their first under Reginald Samples.
Well, congratulations to Reginald Samples. Really, congratulations to the entire Duncanville football team. A very deserved championship. They played well all season long, Craig. There's no doubt about that. They were in every football game in a dominant way, and it's just unbelievable, I think, to all of these players that they're all going to have a legacy of, we brought this state championship home.
Well, it is a big exhale for them, as well as the exultation of it. You see the jubilance there for Coach Samples and the family. And
it took me a long time, even after the game was over. I raised my hands up, but I was still thinking, is this game really over? Is something fixed to happen? It just took me a minute. After I sat down, I thought, wow, I guess it really is over. On the other sideline, North Shore coach John Kay, even though he lost the title, he felt good for his counterpart. Directly after the game, I was happy for him, said Kay, who took a job on the Rice staff in the offseason. The thing I appreciate about him is he didn't want us to give it to him. We took our best shot and they beat us. The way the game ended, to me, it was consistent with the theme of that rivalry. It was fitting. In the stands, Lancaster coach Leon Paul, a former Duncanville assistant under Samples, couldn't hold back his emotions. I had tears in my eyes, Paul said, for all the disappointment to see the joy on his face. It was inspiring. It was emotional for me because I know how badly he wanted that trophy. He didn't need it, but it just makes it all the sweeter. His wife, Julie, said it felt great, especially after losing her father and brother that year. The win for her husband was bittersweet. She said, "It felt exactly how I thought it would, but it puts things into perspective for me, to recognize he's still successful, and it's not measured by winning or losing, but the impact he has on young men." The North Shore coach, Kay, said, "I had someone tell me, you have to have great players to win, but not everyone can win with great players. It's Texas. Everyone has talent. He's had his share of talent, but at the end of the day, you don't know the challenges he's faced, Monday through Thursday, for the product he puts out on Friday. I was in a similar situation at North Shore that he's in at Duncanville and has been through his whole career. The success speaks for itself, but it doesn't tell the whole story." After Samples did win the state title, however, he was accused of recruiting at all 3 high schools he coached at. People had noted the amount of blue-chip transfers that entered his programs and the staggering consistency of talent within them. However, he has never faced any legal action or real investigation into these claims from anyone, including the UIL or University Interscholastic League, which is the league that all public Texas schools play in. He has gone on to deny the claims, obviously. There was an incident where he was suspended for a game and Duncanville was put on 1-year probation in 2020, but it was for using a volunteer coach, which is something Samples claimed was a mistake. Today, Samples has been coaching for 35 years, and the reason I made this video is because he recently crossed more than 350 wins, and as of making this video, he is on his way to another state title run. Samples turned many programs into a football dynasty, but his biggest success and most stressful was probably Duncanville. It eventually paid off with him also being put in the Max Prep's National Coach of the Year. I titled this video, "The Coach That Built Dallas Football," not just because of the clickbait, but because he has been involved in many Dallas programs, was born in Dallas, and has been involved in the Dallas community for many years now. And it's clear why he was awarded Coach of the Year. Reginald Samples is a coach that helped build Dallas football, along many others.
I wouldn't have never envisioned it going this well. I don't think losing defines anyone. I think what you work for and how you go about doing what you do defines you.